What's up, Blue Roof Nation? It's your boy Jonathan, and welcome to Character Spotlight. Now, Avengers Endgame, biggest movie on the planet, biggest movie ever made, biggest movie of your life. And most people seem to love it. Some people seem to have problems with a couple characters, like Thor, which I loved Fat Thor. I mean, the post-traumatic stress disorder that he seemed to be going through, I thought was very reminiscent of Tony Stark in Iron Man 3 after the events of Avengers. Like, I liked that concept. That these people are larger than life heroes. I mean, Thor is a god, and they still suffer. They still feel pain and distress and overwhelmed by the events of their life. I love that they make them human. They don't make them perfect. But we're not here to talk about Thor. We're here to talk about the Hulk. And a lot of people seem to have issues with Smart Hulk, which, if you're fans of the comic books, I find kind of odd. Like, how does anyone who knows the character in the comics really get bothered by the way they portrayed him on the movie? But people are what people are. So I thought today we could dive into the Jolly Green Giant, obviously from Earth 616, not from the MCU. So today's episode is about the Incredible Hulk. Alright, so the Incredible Hulk was created in, I believe, May of '62 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, you know, the greats. And he was a scientist named Bruce Banner who was working on a gamma bomb. And he saw the kid drive out into the testing field, and he told his assistant to, halt the test. I'm going to go tell that kid to leave. And so he rushes out there. Little did he know that the assistant was a Russian spy who wanted the bomb to fail and wanted to kill Banner. So he set the bomb to go off. He didn't halt the test, and the test went off. Bruce saw it coming and pushed Rick Jones, who big character in the Marvel Universe, into a ditch and took the full blunt of the blast himself, thus turning him into the Incredible Hulk. But he wasn't green, he was gray. And he didn't transform because he was angry or because he was rage-filled. No, it was triggered by nighttime. When it would turn night, he would become the Hulk. And Bruce Banner kept tweaking with things to try to figure out ways to fix the problem. And he invented a machine that would let him control it. It would let him turn into the Hulk and turn back into Bruce Banner at will. And eventually, though, this causes weird malfunction where his head stayed Bruce Banner, but his body turned into the Hulk, and he had to wear a mask. And like, what the hell comes up? Well, I guess Stanley and Jack Kirby come up with this stuff, but it's genius. Like, it wasn't the rage-filled monster that we know today. It was very much just it was trying to find out who the Hulk was, and it was doing it in the pages of the books. He's very much a character who wasn't immediately what we know of today. He took time to become the Hulk we all know. But by the end of that 6-issue run, it was controlled by rage, and it was just anger that caused it because the machine stopped working. But even though the book only lasted for 6 issues, he kept popping up in other places. I think there's like a little splash page of the Fantastic Four where Johnny Storm is reading an Incredible Hulk comic. But most famously, he'd pop up in the Avengers, where he is a founding member. He's actually the reason the Avengers exist. Loki was trying to mess with Thor, like he always does. And so I forgot exactly how he sets it up, but basically, he gets a distress signal about that the Incredible Hulk is going on a rampage. And he diverts it so that the Fantastic Four don't get the call, meaning for it to go to Thor. Unbeknownst to him, Ant-Man and Wasp and Iron Man also got the signal. And so they all converge together to stop the Hulk, and they find out Loki's behind it all, and thus the Avengers are formed. Although he didn't stay with the Avengers for very long, because he kept butting heads with them. He felt really disrespected by them, and just like he didn't really belong with them. And so he left, and he was very quickly replaced, I think, by issue 4 with Captain America. And Captain America tried to bring the Hulk back into the fold, but the Hulk didn't want it, and the Avengers didn't want the Hulk running loose. And it's just this whole big mess. And it was it wasn't a mutual breakup. It was kind of butting heads over the formation of the team. But the Avengers aren't the only team he helped found either. He helped found the Defenders, and not the Netflix Defenders, the original Defenders, which was him, Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, and Namor, the Submariner. Aquaman before Aquaman. The Defenders are another cool team. We could do a whole episode about the Defenders. I be honest, I haven't read a whole lot about the original Defenders when the Hulk was on the team, but the new Defenders who kind of took up the torch for them with Beast and Angel and Iceman and a bunch of other, and Valkyrie and Moondragon, and that was a really cool team. I love the Defenders, the new Defenders. But after all this stuff happened, it kind of gave rise to the Incredible Hulk as we know it now, the green monster who was controlled by rage. And we also saw other Gamma characters start to come out, like the leader, who's instead of muscles, he had brains. His cousin Jennifer Walters becoming She-Hulk. Um, so he was slowly starting to populate his world with more characters who were gamma radiated. Famously, the Abomination, stuff like that. And during this time, we also saw different variations of the Hulk. Like sometimes Banner would even be able to have the Hulk's body, but with his mind. But it wasn't always just his mind. Sometimes it'd be his mind, but with like a real bad anger problem. One time, the Hulk one time Bruce Banner's body, but with the Hulk's mind, which is kind of weird. Leonard Samson, Dr. Samson, he's another gamma-powered individual, managed to separate the two personalities once. And so the Hulk was savage and going around being, like, he wasn't restrained by the little Banner voice in the back of his head. He was just pure rage. And Banner finally had to live a normal life for a little bit. But both of them were slowly dying and had to be fused back together in order to save both of their lives. Not long after this, another gamma bomb exploded, and the Hulk once again survived it. But in doing so, he was sent to another dimension. There's some really cool stories when he was in that other dimension, and he kind of found love, and he was trying to save those people. It's really cool stories. But he made a deal to rid himself of Banner, and when he came back, he was my favorite version of the Incredible Hulk. To this day, I still think the best version, Joe Fixit. He was a Grey Hulk at the time, and he was basically a bouncer in Las Vegas. And if you haven't read those stories, those are some of the best Incredible Hulk stories you will ever read in your life. They're fun. They don't take themselves too seriously, and they're just enjoyable. But it didn't take too long for Banner to finally start coming back, and then the Green Hulk, who they were calling the Savage Hulk, started to come back. So it was Joe Fixit, Savage Hulk, and Bruce Banner all fighting for dominance inside his head. And Samson, who's a psychologist, managed to help merge those personalities into one and give them some semblance of normal, which didn't really last for too long before the Hulk started going mindless again. He always seems to revert back to the mindless Hulk smash because that's what people know and love. And comic books are nothing if not, let's reset to the status quo as much as possible. We'll do weird things and take us on weird journeys, but then we come back to step one and then go out again to weird journeys, and then we come back and then we go out and then we come back and then we go out and then we come back. That's what comic books are. And if you know that going in, you can enjoy the ride. During all this mess, Bruce Banner and Betty Ross finally did get married. They tried to live some kind of semblance life, but when you turn into a giant monster every time you get angry, that's not easy. And she actually eventually died, which is not something that ever sticks around in comic books. When I was growing up, there was an expression that nobody stayed dead in comics except for Uncle Ben and Bucky. And if you watch the MCU, Bucky don't stay dead neither. Uncle Ben's the only one who stays dead in comics. But if you brought Uncle Ben back, then there would be no Spider-Man. It would ruin everything about that character. And though no one ever thought they'd bring Bucky back, and not that I'm complaining. I love Winter Soldier. That was a great storyline when they finally brought him back. And if you look at from when he died in the comics, which he died off panel, to when they brought him back, it was a long time before they finally touched Bucky. Which all these events kind of bring us to more modern times. And so a secret organization of superheroes known as the Illuminati has like Black Panther, Black Bolt, Namor, Reed Richards, Charles Xavier, Tony Stark. They tricked the Hulk into going to space and then sent him off in a rocket and disappeared him from Earth, which led to Planet Hulk. Around the same time as when the Civil War stuff happened, which is why he wasn't in the Civil War in the comics. And he crash landed on his alien planet where he fought in like gladiator battles. He eventually took over the planet, he eventually freed the slaves like Spartacus, became king, and then he took those people and he came back to Earth, and it was called World War Hulk, and he just fought the hell out of the humans. And he almost beat them until Tony Stark tricked him, beat him, and then they threw him in shield lockdown. But the Hulk came closest to beating the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, man. He whooped there. He beat them bad. And so while he was in Shield lockdown, this saw the introduction of the Red Hulk, who was a big mystery as to who he was. We would eventually find out that he was General Ross. General Ross, the man who would made his life mission to stop the Incredible Hulk, became a Hulk. Around the same time, Rick Jones became A-Bomb, another gamma-powered individual. The Hulk's son from Planet Hulk, Scar, came. So the world was very getting gamma-filled. Not quite as gamma-filled as World War Hulks, when everyone became an Incredible Hulk, and there was a big battle of the Hulks. It's a pretty good series, too. But things were becoming more gamma-filled in the just day-to-day events of the MCU. There were a lot more gamma-powered individuals than pretty much at any point before. Now, part of the Red Hulk's power is that he could drain gamma from other people, and he took the power from the Hulk, and thus turning Bruce Banner into just Bruce Banner, which is ironic, seeing as everyone was gamma powered at the time, and he was not. But it also shows just how smart Bruce Banner was. He had a personal shield. He was using tech to stop things. Bruce Banner himself became pretty badass character. And then Betty Brant, that's Spider-Man. Betty Ross came back, and she was kind of pissed at Bruce for marrying somebody else, and she would go on to become the Red She-Hulk. So yes, we have a She-Hulk, we have a Red She-Hulk, and then we have a Savage She-Hulk. 3 different She-Hulks were running around at this time, along with a couple Incredible Hulks, the Incredible Hulk's son, who Bruce was training to kill the Hulk if the Hulk ever came back. This was a very interesting time to be an Incredible Hulk fan, and it was a lot of fun to read all these stories. I believe they changed the name of the comics from the Incredible Hulk to the Incredible Hulks with an S. It was fun, man. It was really fun. But the Hulk family didn't really last too long. I feel it could have gone on a lot longer than it did, but it kind of winded down after a while, and Bruce Banner ended up at Shield, where he became Doc Hulk. Was it Doc Hulk or whatever? Yeah, something like that. And he was like super smart, Incredible Hulk. And so he devised a way to depower gamma individuals, and he started depowering all of them. The leader, who I don't know how the leader went from being green to red, but he did. And then Rick Jones, and just he started both Rosses, and then he went to Jennifer Walters to try to depower She-Hulk, and she basically was like, "Nah, that shit ain't happening." And so she was really the only one he didn't depower. But Doc Hulk didn't really last too long either. But that was kind of weird, where he was just turning on all his friends and stopping them for the greater good. A lot of bad things can happen for the greater good, especially in comic books. Because at the end of the day, comic books are morality tales. But Bruce would go back to being mindless for a little bit, and then he would get depowered again, and Amadeus Cho would become the Incredible Hulk, the totally awesome Incredible Hulk, which was a really cool series, and he did a really good job as the Hulk. But that didn't even last long. But while he was the Hulk, Hawkeye shot Bruce Banner in the head, and it would turn out that Bruce Banner gave him the weapon he needed to kill him, and that he asked him to do it because he was afraid of the Incredible Hulk coming back, and he didn't ever want that to happen. This was also the start of Civil War II, which anyone who wants to complain about Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, read Civil War II and then rewatch Captain Marvel. She's one of the few people who actually took a character in the comics and made them likable. Because Captain Marvel in the comics is not a likable character. Captain Marvel in the Captain Marvel film, very likable. Endgame, you don't really see her much, so you don't really get a feel for it. But in Captain Marvel, she's a great character. It's not some, like in the comics, man, I can't stand Captain Marvel in the comics. Well, that version of Captain Marvel in the comics. And mainly because of Civil War II. You should definitely check it out. That's my way of saying I stand by Brie Larson. I think she's doing a good job, and I think the franchise, the MCU franchise, is in good hands between her and Tom Holland, and I don't know, is Don Cheadle staying on the movies, or but Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, like there's a lot of Black Panther, Doctor Strange, like there's all these good characters that are still there. I'm excited for where MCU goes from here. I can't wait for Guardians 3. Far From Home, I can't wait for either. That's gonna be so good. But anyways, point is, they killed Bruce Banner. He came back and died a couple more times before it finally stuck. And so that kind of brings us to where we're at now. Bruce Banner, he's alive. He's still the Incredible Hulk. Um, but all of this whole episode was just to say that there's the Hulk, Incredible Hulk, Bruce Banner, and the Incredible Hulk have gone through a lot of different variations over the years. And sometimes he's smart, sometimes he's mindless, sometimes he's gray, sometimes he's green, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's the moon. Why not let the movies explore these different aspects of the characters without getting all uptight about it? Let them do different things. Let them experiment. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But it's not like the comics over the past, what, since the 1960s haven't experimented, haven't done things, haven't thrown things at the wall to see what sticks. Let the movies do the same thing. And as long as they're doing it in an enjoyable fashion, who cares? I, for one, loved it. And I can't wait for the Incredible Hulk and She-Hulk TV show. That is going to be beyond amazing. But anyways, I'm Jonathan. You can check us out all over the web on Facebook, Instagram, on the different Twitters. We have a lot of different Twitters. Follow all the Twitters. Our website, blueproductions.com. Our other YouTube channel, Blue Roo Productions 619. YouTube.com/ first, but yeah. Anywho, I'm Jonathan. This is Character Spotlight. Give us legends.